Hello.
Hello.
I can't hear you. Put my headphones on. Where is everybody?
Well, I just opened it, so they got time. They have a few minutes.
There was a lot of positive feedback about your sister's presentation last week.
Oh, good. Yeah. She knows a lot,
She
as
does.
you know. I mean, you already had seen
Impressive.
her at MACC.
Solar projects. My daughter is a civil engineer, and she works for an environmental company down in Springfield, and they have her going and doing inspections at solar projects all the time.
It's a happening thing.
It is a happening thing. Everybody's making some money off it.
So I signed in a little early to see if my computer is working.
No echo.
Yay!
What did you do to fix it?
My husband went in and did a whole bunch of stuff in settings. And then I asked Tessa if we could do a practice. And she's like, I am not authorized to make a Zoom. And so I contacted Grace. And Grace was like, totally, I can do this. And she came back after lunch with her home computer that she could do Zoom on. And we connected, and she's like, I hear you. I'm like, I hear you, and only one of you. And
Sometimes it's like this feels like there's a ghost in the machine. Sometimes, like weird things just happen with Zoom.
well, it was weird because I made a trip down south, my kids, and I used the computer down there, but not to do anything different. And then I come back, and my last yoga class with Kathy, because now she's sort of taken a sabbatic, Marianne had to mute me because she goes, You're making everyone echo. And so I couldn't even at the end say, Oh, goodbye, Kathy. Thank you for, gazillion years of yoga classes. I'd do it by email. And then this happened, and I was like, Okay, it's clearly my computer. But I will praise my husband tonight after the meeting and say, Whatever you did worked.
You picked up something when you went down south,
I
apparently.
guess so. I was just worried because it was just me and Grace, and I thought, well, maybe it's something when there's multiple people. So I'm so happy.
Was this the technical difficulties at the last meeting?
Yes.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I was
Now.
I had to be muted and I had to do all my voting like this.
Oh my God.
It was hard
That's
for her to
unfortunate.
express opinions.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Good. I'd say things are looking up overall, with vaccines and all that.
Yes. Totally agree.
I had a plumber come to my house today, and I asked him, maybe I shouldn't have asked him, but I asked him, are you vaccinated? And he said no. And I said, would you put a mask on, please? And he said, well, I will, but after tomorrow, I don't have to. And I was like, well, and you don't have to work for me either. You don't have to come to my house.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. We'll see how
Long
that.
answer.
Okay, so it is 7:00, so let's go ahead and open the meeting, the May 27th meeting of the CONCOM. Let's start by considering the minutes from April 22nd and May 13th.
And while you're doing that, I can read the statement.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Following the governor's restrictions on public meetings, this meeting is being held virtually using zoom.com for remote participation only. The public may access it following the instructions on this meeting's agenda posted on the town calendar. If, despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide real-time access, the public can request a recording of this meeting by contacting the town clerk.
Great. Thank you, Tessa. So I looked at both minutes. Obviously, I wasn't at the May 13th meeting, but 422 looked accurate to me.
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'll make a motion that we accept the April minutes as presented.
Second, Mary.
All right, roll call vote. David,
Aye.
DeFont,
Aye.
Harrington,
Can't vote. I wasn't at that one.
true, and Cregan, aye.
So Robin, can you just say abstain? Just so I
Abstain. Oh, I'm sorry. Abstain.
All right, and I guess I can't carry us through the May minutes.
Well, you can carry us through, you just can't vote.
True. Well, it looked like a short meeting. And
Yeah.
I forget what else happened. There was news about Pratt South. It looked like
Yeah.
the access point is going to be delineated, the potential access point.
I was this is just an aside. It's not about the minutes, but I was at we met as a historical commission last night, and AMP was there, and they indicated that for Pratt Corner South, they're going to have to submit a notice of intent to the Concom.
Yeah, it seems likely because they're in riverfront area, the entire road up
Yeah.
to the site.
Yep.
So yeah, and I think the site visit, this is also an aside, but maybe we can talk about that when we get to site visit scheduling. Do folks who are at the meeting feel good about the minutes? Are there any amendments?
I think they're fine.
I think they're fine too.
Do a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
All right. Roll call vote. David,
Aye.
DeFont,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
and Cregan abstain.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's just move into site visit follow-ups. First is RDA we have coming up, which is lot ZH34 Montague Road.
Trying to find my minutes. My thing. Where is it? Where's the agenda?
I sent it earlier. I think.
Maybe I didn't open it.
Yeah, let me see which day I sent it on.
No, I'm sure you did. Here it is. I just didn't open it.
So Tessa and I were at that one, and she did the site visit summary.
Okay, Tessa, do you want to summarize the visit then?
Sure. So Robin and I met with Alan Weiss, and then the landowner kind of met us once we were back on the road. So it's a wood lot with that they're going to do a house and septic and well on, and so they have the hearing scheduled at 7:15 this evening. And what we saw, I brought my tape measure. Robin had hers too, so we were well prepared. But we ran the line from the delineated buffer zone, or delineated high water mark for like outside boundary, I guess, of the wetland, and to the 100 feet to kind of see, and there was flagging out by the trees to kind of mark the edge of the construction zone. And so it's about, I guess from the description, it's like 10 or 20 feet of the buffer zone. It's not most deep into the buffer zone. And what I also liked that I saw was that it stayed flat for about until 40 feet before the wetland. So then it started sloping down. So if it would be very challenging for runoff or loose soil from construction to make it to the stream because of that topography. I did ask about how many trees were going to be cut down in the buffer zone, and they didn't know. So one suggestion is to put it as a condition that the commission gets to review the trees that are going to be marked for cutting down before they're cut. So that can be discussed as part of the hearing. But that was my main comment. I don't know what else, Robin, you remember.
I agree with everything you've said. I like the fact that it was flat after the construction zone before it started to go down to the wetland, and you have to realize it cuts into the buffer zone, but just, pretty much the width of the house or, their project, not, the entire property. So it's really just a little bit.
And are the topography lines, that contour lines on the plan, is that what's reflected in reality, or are they going to do regrading?
That is something we can ask. I also was wanted to ask about vegetation plans on like whether they were converting the whole space to lawn, or if they were just going to try and, I think they have to do lawn over the septic. I believe that's true, but that was something I also forgot to ask at the site visit, but I'd be curious to know.
Okay.
So I think those are both good questions.
Sounds good. 66 Shore Drive, tree cutting.
Only Mary and I went, and because she's the landowner, I was the commissioner there. And basically the question was, is it outside of the buffer zone? And just standing there looking at it, you could say this is definitely more than 100 feet. But I'm like, I want a number to put on the site visit summary. So I actually got out my tape and we measured, and it was 149 feet to her tree. And the only question is, the dead tree right next to it is another tree, and that may be coming down too. There's a question about that. We can ask Mary, but again, it's way outside the buffer zone.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like it's not within our jurisdiction then.
Right.
Unless it somehow affects the buffer zone. Hopefully it doesn't, Mary.
No, it won't. And the second tree, the second tree is alive, so hopefully we can nurse it back to health.
Great. Sounds good. All right, so we do have some minutes, no pun intended. So maybe we can go into site visit scheduling. So the first one would be Southbrook Vernal Pool certifying and trail mapping.
So
yeah.
I visited the vernal pool last Thursday and was concerned by how it was severely shrunk from when Liam and I saw it on May 1st. So it rained yesterday. I went to this morning with my fingers crossed, and it was completely dried up. I couldn't find eggs at all. So
it's going to rain for the next few days.
Yeah, I think this is, I don't know, I didn't see
Right.
the eggs. I don't know that they survived. I think this is one where we can make a note of it, and that next spring, if the commission gets out there early, I think it could get certified. But unfortunately, I'm not sure. Yeah, I didn't see evidence of eggs at this point. Someone can check once the water comes back up, but I think there are still the rest of the trails to map.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to do that with my GPS, but if someone wants to come with me, I'm happy to coordinate with somebody.
I just have a couple questions.
Yeah.
I worry because of my knee, although I go hiking. I was hiking today. If I use a trekking pole with one hand, I'm like totally good. And if this has to be where they're riding bikes, it's not any place you have to climb. And so if you feel I can do it, I would love to go, because I had to miss the first one.
Yeah. Well, in case you want to consider this, Robin, next Friday morning, which I think is June 4th, the Historical Commission is going to do a site visit out on South Brook. So if you would, and we're opening it up to the Conservation Commission if any commissioners would like to join us. Janice is going to come.
Is this tomorrow morning?
No.
A week from
A
tomorrow.
week from tomorrow.
What
Okay.
time?
I think we planned at 9:15. Let me look at my look at my phone. It was either 9:15 or 9:30. Leslie Bracebridge is also coming, and Leslie, which is interesting. What time is it? So at 9:15, we're going to meet at the Southbrook Conservation sign that's on the road. We're not going to meet down the parking lot. Because we can get access to the trail a little quicker.
Oh, you're gonna meet on the road.
Yeah, Leslie Bracebridge, I don't know if you guys know her. Leslie's a long-term town resident. She used to be the town clerk. She was the president of the chair of the historical commission for many, many years. And she was involved with the original purchase of this tract of land and sort of knows it backwards and forwards and was involved in the discussions around the purchasing of it, which is interesting. So she's coming out with us. We're going out because there's a lot of historical stuff out on this property, as well as a lot of stone groupings that may be indigenous. And the Historical Commission is very concerned about any further use besides the trails. There was a lot of discussion about people being concerned about the mountain biking project.
Yeah. Do you have a handheld GPS or a way to, I guess there's phone apps where you can.
If you have cell service down there, I don't know if you would get data, if it would work. So no, I don't. Might get one for that meeting. We should have one.
That app that I recommended to Philip can be used when you don't have cell phone service.
Which app is that?
It's called Gaia, Gaia, and you can record a track on there that can track your route, and you can also take photos that will show up as waypoints on the map.
Nice.
So
okay, that's great.
That.
Great, that's great to know. So yeah, if anybody would like to come, would like to sort of be on the same page with the Conservation Commission, we're going to do our own sort of surveying of stone features, but we're going to wait till the fall because it's too late now. With all the foliage, we really kind of needed the foliage to be down a bit, so we'll probably postpone that to October. But just to give you guys a heads up about what we've been talking about.
So this is a preliminary visit?
It's a preliminary visit. The things that people were talking about is a concern about, if you make it a mountain bike trail, the reality is people will come from outside of town to use it. And our concern is that people will go off trail because mountain bikers do that. And it'll become harder to protect things that we don't want to have damaged.
It'll be good to have that overlay with Penny's CPA project.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the concern was that also that the original intent of this tract of land was conservation, preservation, not that it was being purchased for recreation. And trail, low impact hiking trails is different than a mountain biking. And I know that there are people going out there with ATVs and snowmobiles. That's a whole different thing, but we're not encouraging it. Nobody's saying here's a snowmobile trail.
Yeah, one thing Phil said that was kind of reassuring to me was that what he's proposing is a really short amount of trails. So because of that, it's more likely than not that this won't become a destination trail network, since there are a few destination trail networks that have a lot more extensive trails. So that was one thing that was reassuring to me. But I do hear your concern, and it would be good to know where all the historical structures are in relation to, Penny's trail study, as well as, Phil's flags too.
Yeah.
And you kind of just compare and then really make a decision once we have all the info.
Right. Well, the historical commission may want to weigh in if there's going to be a CPA proposal. I imagine that we would be weighing in because it's just, having two different sets of trails makes it much harder to make sure that these things are being protected.
Right. So
Okay.
that site visit next week.
Yeah.
8:30 on Friday.
No, it's 9:15 on Friday.
9:15 on Friday. I probably can't make it, but if
Yeah.
anyone else can, that would be great.
Anybody else want to join us?
Yeah, I'd like to come. I just was concerned with how much walking up and down it's going to be too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little hobbled myself, so with my arthritic knees, we'll see how that goes.
I'll be hobbled together.
We'll be way in the back and get lost.
And then Tessa, at some point, you were going to go out to finish mapping the trails that we missed.
Yes.
Okay.
One thing we did want is to get the images from that trail that Phil Parker had proposed, because we want to go take a look at it.
I know that it's pink flagging, and I don't know the best way. Like, you could use the map, but that's probably not going to be a ton of help, honestly. The one that I made.
How is it flagged? What kind of flagging?
Pink flagging.
Okay.
And they're fairly close together, and it's pretty clustered close to Locks Pond Road and Randall Road. So it's mostly in that corner. A good portion of the conservation area is completely not proposed at all.
Okay.
And I think that portion is kind of where, well, from what Tess and I saw, the most conspicuous colonial stone structures were pretty far away, but I know there's a lot of other stuff out there that we don't know about.
So it's 7:18.
Okay, thanks.
Double checked.
Yeah.
I sent out yesterday to the applicant and Alan Weiss.
Yeah, I noticed that we had passed 7:15 too. I just figured we'd keep talking until they showed up. But
Okay.
I mean, at a certain point, we do have to start, even if they're not here, right?
Yeah, I think we do have to, even if it's just to continue it.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah,
maybe
I
give them
was double checking that I had in fact sent the link, which I did yesterday. I didn't send a reminder today, which.
So maybe we should just give them till 7:25 or 7:30, or we could just keep it hanging the entire meeting. And if we run out of stuff to talk about, we'll continue it.
Yeah, that's probably.
Okay.
So there's a couple of things I want to add to the agenda that I didn't see on it that were follow-ups from our last couple of meetings. One was that we were going to draft a letter to the planning board about the annual report and site visit for the Wheeler Tract.
That could be unanticipated business at the end.
Okay. And also, I don't know if we already scheduled this to meet with the Lake Association president.
It's
Is that
happening
always?
next week.
Oh, it
next
is. Okay,
meeting.
great.
Sorry, not next week, but next
Right,
meeting.
right. Okay, great.
And I wanted to add something about meeting coordination.
I did add that to the today.
Oh, is it on here? Okay.
That's it.
All right. So, Tessa, do you want to talk about a trail mapping time too? I don't really know how much more there is to do. Probably
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because neither of us know the property very well to know. We knew there was one turnoff that we know we didn't cover.
Yeah, that went towards the lake.
So I know where to go for that.
Yeah, well, if you do end up going kind of on the later side of a day, I can probably make it. So if you want to let me know. And are any other commission members interested in attending just the final mapping? Robin?
I am, again, because I missed
Right.
the first
Yeah,
one.
I might be able to.
Okay. Maybe we should just pick a date then.
Yeah, let me.
I'm gonna pull up my calendar.
Often I grab the calendar.
Hmm. I'm wondering, maybe we could do Tuesday, June 1st at 4:30.
That would work for me. 4:30 is what you said?
Yeah,
I think that'll work for me.
okay.
And this is to go over, you're mapping the original trails that are already there?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, trying to get, yeah.
And where do you want to meet?
I'm
I think
wondering
it would be
if,
shorter access to meet along the road, actually. It would be shorter
Mhm.
to meet on that road. I parked there. That's where I parked this morning because it's closer to the vernal pool. And if there is a lot of cars meeting there, there's a place across the street by that has a kind of a wider area off the side of the road too.
okay, yeah, that sounds good to me.
Do you need to include this guy in your minutes? Sorry.
The
It is
cat
being
shows up.
recorded.
When he shows up, he really shows up.
What's your cat's name?
This is Toonie.
Toomy?
Toonie.
A big cat.
He's a really big cat. He's very heavy.
I-
He likes to zoom bomb. Definitely does. I know. He just needed to be loved right this minute.
I can't believe how much he looks like my cat. Does he have white paws?
This one doesn't. I do have another one that looks almost identical that does with the white paws. I have two big, fat, enormous boys
Aw.
and a timid little frightened female that's very old. These guys like to hunt her.
Oh.
So adorable when they're acting like predators, merciless predators.
Yeah. Okay, so next site visit to talk about is the Old Peach Orchard CR monitoring visit.
And I reached out to Penny and Cliff Reed, who's the president of the homeowner association. And Penny's preference is to have it during the weekday, which I know is harder for Liam. Great. And that said, Liam was on the last one, so I don't know if you feel like you need to be there necessarily.
How long a hike is it?
Not too long.
I
I
don't
think
remember.
I don't know, Mary was there the last one. How long
It's like
were
a 10-acre parcel.
we there for an hour and a half?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we were there for an hour, and it is a lot of up and down. That one. Not
It
that
was
the
pretty
not
easy.
that
I had no problem with my knee.
That's what I was gonna say. It wasn't hard. There's a trail along where you were going, so and we're monitoring that again now because we have to do it every year.
I
We have to do every year, and we're supposed to switch seasons of when we visit. So
Oh,
we did it
okay.
in the fall. I think things got a little messed up because of the pandemic too. I think that's also why it's so close together.
I would be happy to go again. It's very close, not far from where I live.
I could, I mean, if we book far enough out, I could do it. I think I could do it the week of the 7th, week of June 7th. And I would be interested. The only reason I'm saying that is because I'm interested in going again.
Well, I wasn't trying to keep
Yeah,
you
I do like CR monitoring. It's a fun time for me.
So Monday the 7th, like
Yeah, Monday the 7th or another day that week.
I have a conference that day, so I can't do the 7th.
Okay.
Mornings are good for me. I don't know how that would work for the rest of you.
It could work well for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I found out that I can report Concom business as training hours for my AmeriCorps obligation. So
Oh.
it kind of frees me up a little bit to go during the work week, but I do try to minimize it. So, but for this, I would go in the morning on a weekday.
You want to do Tuesday morning? The 8th?
Sure, yeah, if it works for Penny and Cliff.
Okay.
That's
I
the,
will reach out to them.
Could we do it a bit on the earlier side, like 9?
Okay. I'll ask them about June 8th at 9 a.m.
sweet.
I cannot type with this cat on my arm.
What date is that again?
Tuesday, June 8th.
Tuesday, June 8 at 9 a.m.
Mhm.
And Penny will give us brunch at the end.
Oh,
Oh.
sweet. Did you mention
Just
that?
kidding.
Oh,
Well, now that you said it, it has to happen.
it's in the minutes now.
I won't hold her to it.
All right, so 92 January Hills Road building permit application.
Yeah, so this just came in. I believe it's a deck, and so decks are exempt for single family homes. And it might be out depending on where it reaches. So there is a pond on the like north. I looked at on MassGIS Oliver. There's a pond in the northeastern corner of the property. So there is a buffer zone, but the deck might even be outside of the buffer zone for all I know. And so I think, and also because decks are exempt, I think the only issue there could be is if there's a isolated wetland under the zoning bylaw that just happens to be, or bordering vegetated wetland, or if they're actually building like in a wetland, then they'd have to permit, but otherwise, then it's exempt, decks are exempt in the buffer zone.
Okay.
And the other thing to mention, depending on where the project is that that edge of the property is under natural heritage. But I also don't know how concerned they are about decks.
When you say under natural heritage, you mean it's like on the biomap zone?
It's called priority
That-
habitat.
Priority habitat?
Yeah, it's a similar mapping layer to biomap.
Does biomap incorporate natural heritage?
That's a good
Biomap-
question.
It
It might be, I know it incorporates CAPS, which is conservation assessment and prioritization system, but I don't know.
It has natural heritage.
It has natural heritage. in
Yeah,
there,
so like biomap, yeah, but my understanding was that biomap 2 has like multiple layers, and natural
Yeah.
heritage is just the
Yeah.
state's layer, that department's.
So we need to go out there next week, maybe?
Sounds like it would be worth it if it's potentially in a wetland.
Well, next week, morning is okay for me, except for Friday when I'm doing the Southbrook thing.
Let's see.
I could do Tuesday or Thursday, I guess.
Okay.
You're talking about the 1st or the 3rd, right?
Yeah. You want to do like 10 o'clock?
Okay.
Which date?
June 1st?
Okay. I'm okay
92.
with that.
So you'll confirm that with the landowner?
Yes.
92 January Hills Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a building permit. It's not.
It's finally off of me.
So weight off your lap. All right. Pratt South second peer review site visit.
Yeah. I'm realizing that should have been up in the follow-up section because it happened on Monday.
Did it happen on May 24th?
Yeah, so
Which
I
was Monday?
double checked with Maria and Emily. And they did go out on the 24th. And so Maria is working on updated revisions for us. But nothing has come in yet through the mail.
Okay.
All right.
That's my update.
Did it sound like that was going to be the last visit for them? Are they happy with the flags?
So I guess I would be curious to know if they really finished everything, because I know it got more complicated because of that extension that they were now mapping the access. And I did hear from the assessor today that they requested the abutters list for that section, that property.
Mhm.
so they can,
Or the town of Amherst property.
yeah, so they can notify the butters there.
Right. Yeah, well, I do remember there wasn't a lot left to do when we finished the first site visit. I think the main thing they had to do is review the stream flags
Right.
on the property, not the riverfront area flags, because those weren't up yet. And then I think from there, they would just have to flag the riverfront area buffer. There might have been a couple other small things to do, but I would anticipate that they might have finished.
Okay.
So we'll see though.
Yeah, I will definitely let everyone know when the hard copies come in. And the electronic.
Mhm. All right, so Highway Department project list site visit.
So this one is a little more complicated. So I don't know if the commission members got to review the information I sent today.
I don't think I did
I
yet.
looked at it.
I didn't. I was
Yeah,
hiking today and I got home and saw that I guess the problem with having a second email is I only check this one once or twice a day. And I was like, oh my God, I've got all these PDFs and the meeting starts.
so this is just talking about dates. So there'll be time to review the actual content. That's fine. But just the overview is that there's 4 projects on there. So this is something that happens every year. Linda kind of gave me the update. So every year, the Highway Department gives the Conservation Commission a list of spring projects that they think might involve commission, or they want to check with the commission whether permitting is required. So there's 4 items on this list. I started gathering history information that was in the office on them. I found 2 site visits that one each relates to one of the items. There's a wetland maps because one of the sites was considered for the new library and then rejected. But the wetlands were mapped, I forget how many years ago, not super recently, but by Ward Smith. And so it would be likely require permitting. But yeah, so we can, and I also sent along the memorandum just because I wanted to read through it, and I figured that you guys would want to read through it too as new to this agreement.
I have a question about the fire station. What is the status of the ground contamination and the mitigation? Is it still ongoing?
I don't know about ground contamination. I know that I did talk to Becky. She gave me an update that she's having someone from the Department of Environmental Protection, but the hazard department is going to be doing an inspection of the building.
So this was where there was a leaking underground storage tank.
Oh.
And there was a huge contamination plume. This was around 2008. It impacted some people's wells, and it was a multi-hundred thousands of dollar environmental cleanup job phased over a number of years with all sorts of different remediation techniques. They had to dig out soil, they had to pump in fungi and bacteria and enzymes and all sorts of stuff. And I just wonder, where is that at? Because it seems like we should be getting reports on it.
Yeah, that I assume if they're tearing the building down, that part has been completed.
No. It's not on that side. It's on the fire station.
Oh, by the actual. Okay.
Right. So they're repaving. It's the problem they had was that the underground storage tank was underneath the fire station, so they couldn't unless they removed the fire. So by the time they discovered it, the contamination was very widespread. I think some people had to discontinue using their wells.
So the reason I on the agenda right now is just to come up with a few different dates that I can give to the highway department for a site visit, and that certainly could be a question that we ask at the site visit.
Yeah. Well, it could be just asking Becky Torres, because it may be that she's more on top of it and is reporting it to the select board, but it just seems like I think that we should be receiving updates on annually on where it's at. If there is still, if they still are doing any remediation, I don't know if they got to a place where it was done. It was an ongoing thing for a few years.
Yikes.
My daughter, when she was in college, she's an engineer. She worked on as an intern one summer doing the monitoring on it.
Yikes.
She was like, "Oh my God, Mom, are we drinking that water?"
So we need to throw out a couple dates, right?
Yeah, and it has to be during business hours during the week. Apparently, they don't want to meet in the evenings or on Fridays. So Monday through
Or on
Thursday,
Fridays.
Monday
Wow.
through Thursday, 9 to 5.
I wish I could not work on Friday.
I mean, it's not that I don't know that they never work on Fridays.
They might,
but
I mean, I'm not saying they don't.
Fine.
It just
not inclined to meet with the
brings it up in me that I wish that for myself. Anyway, I guess we should look at the calendar. I think next week, I personally feel a capacity for next week. I think maybe, I'm wondering if the week after, if we could propose Tuesday the 8th, which is the same day as the Old Peach Orchard CR visit. As one option.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, and I guess that would be starting at probably 10:30 or 11.
This is for the fire station?
No, this is for
Lot 32.
Fire station included. Yeah.
Lot,
So
lot 32 in the
fire station is paving is one of the items on the highway department list.
so
which
we
is
would
fine.
go around to all the 4 proposed
Four
projects.
proposed. Yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
we'd say,
technically, the first item, the commission, I have the site visit form from commission visited last year. So that if the commission feels comfortable not visiting it again or visiting it. But Linda just wondered if it would be worthwhile just because there's so many new members.
For which site?
The first item on the list, I'd have to,
Where
it's
is-
culvert, the Montague Road culvert.
Oh, right.
yeah, Robin, were you at that? Can you remember?
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I
The
was.
site visit form is attached. It should say, I don't have it right in front of me. It should say who is there.
Let's see. Robin, Penny, and Russ. I was on September 1st of 2020.
Oh, okay.
What did they say? I would say we don't need to go to this one
Okay.
because Robin, you wrote no wetlands observed within 100 feet of work. So you can proceed without further review from the commission.
Okay.
But we would still need to do the 3 other visits, which would a culvert replacement on Sand Hill Road above Dean Brook.
Wasn't there a site visit for that one too?
I'm not sure. It doesn't
thought
say on
Penny-
this list.
I thought didn't you give us a site visit for that with Penny?
Let me see what else I pulled up.
I think there was one.
I think the other one's fired, the paving.
Yep, fire station parking lot and highway department parking lot to repave. And then the other one is, Ray's old garage on lot 32.
Oh, right. I see. Okay. I thought it was the other one.
Oh,
I thought I remember us discussing this at a meeting though. And
the applicant is coming in, not to interrupt her.
Oh, for the RDA?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
well, we can continue this after. Hi, Mike.
I am sorry. I've had Zoom trouble. I know it's been a while. I should have emailed, but I had Zoom trouble. Apologize.
Oh, no, it's okay.
I'm sorry you had trouble accessing it.
Well, I didn't have any trouble last time, which I didn't need to be particularly at that one on time. But this one, of course, I did, and I couldn't get on.
It's all right. We're glad you made it. Do you know
Good,
if
yeah.
do you know if Alan is joining?
I was expecting him to as well. Again, I sorry, both of us didn't make it. Apparently, I don't. He had the link. We had talked about it previously, so I'm not sure why he wouldn't be on.
Okay. Well, have you gotten in touch with him, or is there a way you can get in touch with him?
I could try giving him a call now. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. If you can't get a hold of them, we can still proceed. But
Okay.
we'd like to have Alan here if he is representing somebody.
Yeah, that would certainly be better. So let me try and give him a call.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we want to quickly try to come up with a few potential dates for Tim and the highway department while Mike calls Alan.
Yeah, so besides the 8th, is any other days that week?
Let's see.
I'm going to run down and get our home calendar because I remember my personal calendar, but I just need to make sure we're not, like, there's nothing going on that's not on my radar.
Yeah, and now I'm looking at my calendar and seeing something that I didn't put on here that my initials are on for Tuesday for all day. So I can't do Tuesday.
The 8th.
Yeah.
So not for Pete Orchard or
Do you want to
yeah,
pick a different date? Do you want to pick a different date for Peach Orchard then?
the 9th is the only day that I'm not on hold all day now that I'm
Okay.
looking at what somebody
Okay.
else wrote me in for.
Okay.
Which will probably change, but I can't assume it will.
Okay.
So when the 9th could work for Old Peach Orchard and it could work for the highway department visits.
Yeah, I'm not free then, but I don't want to hold people up. So if that's a good date, go ahead.
possible date. Okay, I think it would be good to have a couple options for the highway department.
Can others make Wednesday?
Sorry,
We're
Wednesday?
now looking at 9th, June 9th. It's a Wednesday, 9 a.m.
I am totally free.
Yeah, I'm free on Wednesday too.
Okay, and then would the rest of you potentially be available on another day that week that we could propose to Tim?
I can do Thursday or Friday morning.
The Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah,
Both of those are free for me.
Yeah, I would be free too.
Okay, and
awesome.
and
The
I'm
8th is off now?
I'm admitting Alan Weiss.
Yeah, well, it's off for me. It doesn't have to be off for you all.
Well, I'm free the rest of the week. But
Okay.
I saw another.
We'll finish this convo after the RDA.
Okay.
Hi, Alan. All right, so we'll go ahead and open the RDA for lot ZH34. This is a proposed new dwelling on the parcel. And Mike Nolden is here, the landowner, and Alan Weiss is here, the representative. Hello to both of you.
Oh yeah. Sorry again for not being timely.
That's totally fine. I'm glad that it's working out. So I'm wondering, well, we have talked about the project a little bit already because we did the site visit follow-up. So I was wondering, hopefully if Alan could just give us a quick rundown. I think that's always good for the record. I'm not sure if he's there yet, though.
We'll invite to unmute.
He's on mute.
Unmute. Are we good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. So it's a single family house proposal, just like I submitted to the commission some years ago. Not, a little bit has changed, but very small incursion into the buffer zone, 5 to 10 feet at most. Siltation control is noted. I think this takes it, uses the best part of the property, the most upland, and causes the least amount of, deterioration, if you will, of the woodlands, and certainly almost no incursion on the resource area, with, as I just mentioned. There is, all the other setbacks are fine. Last time, your commission did approve the offsets as noted, pretty similar. Board of Health approved last time and has already approved this new plan as well. That's about it.
All right, great. I had a question. Do you anticipate, since we're pretty close to a stream, and I know I wasn't at the site, I heard it's pretty flat all the way to the stream, at least for a long ways from the proposed house site. But do you anticipate water from the roof to infiltrate before it reaches the stream?
Oh, absolutely. The percolation rate was good. That shouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. And we're not that close to the stream. Honestly, the house is over 100 feet. The septic is over 100 feet. There's just a slight amount of what we call breakout fill for the septic that incurs into the buffer by 5 to 10 feet, and that's all.
Mhm. Okay.
So all the impervious, roof areas and so forth are well into the uplands.
Right. Okay. And I was looking, we were talking about the contour lines on the plan earlier. Are you planning to
Yep.
regrade at all for the septic tank?
Well, the plan shows existing and proposed grade. Proposed grade is shown in the purple color.
Okay.
And as I always do, and everything will be graded, seeded, and mulched and stabilized completely before any siltation control is removed.
All right, great. And then I think we had one more question. Has there been any discussion of vegetation? We know that lawn needs to go over the septic, but are there plans for any tree plantings on the property after the house is built?
Well, in the upland, I let the owner speak to that. I'm not sure, as far as the buffer goes, it's just going to be a small grass planting under the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Act, but I'll let him speak to what he's doing on the uplands.
I didn't have any, we don't have that level of planning at this point. If that's something you would like, I can offer that we can try, but I haven't thought about that in that regard yet in terms of planting new trees. I was telling, mentioned during the site visit last week that we have really no intention of moving more trees than we need to, just to construct the house and then obviously have this house be safe from any falling trees. The trees that are there and the wooded nature of the property is really what drew us to the property anyway. So.
Okay, great.
I can add in the, like I say, in the jurisdictional area, there will be grass planted and stabilized.
Okay.
And obviously all the septic will be grass as well. So.
All right. Do any commission members have questions for Alan or Mike?
No.
No, we pretty much asked them when we were there.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we close the public hearing for the RDA at ZH 34.
I second.
All right, roll call vote. David,
Aye.
DeFont,
Hi.
Harrington,
Aye.
and Cregan, aye. All right, well, we should get the paperwork done tonight and then Tessa can send it out.
Yeah, I'll be, I believe Ellen, last time you just wanted an electronic copy. Is that correct?
That's all I need. Yes. Thank you. You'll hear from me again soon. I've tried to on the septic repair of be putting together for you. So you haven't seen the last of me.
We never think that.
And Michael Nold,
Thank you so much for your help tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
Mike, do you have any other questions before you sign off?
No, I think Tessa, you said there's a waiting period, so I'll probably get approved or whatever it is, documentation tomorrow, then there's a waiting period.
so yeah, the waiting period starts the day that I mail it. So
Okay.
it's a 10-day appeal period for the state to look over the paperwork
Okay,
the day that I mail it.
okay, great.
So I'll keep you in the loop on that. So
Great,
either be
I'll-
tomorrow or Monday.
Okay, I will keep an eye on my email then.
All right, well, thanks for coming both.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all. Have a
Be
good night.
well, thanks.
You too.
Bye.
It looks like we have a guest on the call. Hi, Veronica.
Hi, I was just checking in on the lot because we're in a butter.
Okay, sorry we didn't check in before. Do you have any questions?
No, I was just wondering.
Okay,
That's all.
okay, great. Well, thanks for coming. Okay, so want to just quickly clarify the dates that we were discussing for the highway department?
Sounds good.
Okay, so I think we had discussed Tuesday the 9th.
Wednesday, the 9th.
Sorry, Wednesday the 9th. And then Thursday the 10th. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Both of those work for me.
Yeah, I can do the 10th.
Okay. Yeah, and I can't do the 10th, but it seems like we'll have enough folks whichever
Okay.
day works out.
And what are you gonna? Which day then? You're gonna do a Wednesday for the peach orchard?
Ideally.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great.
Okay, so I'll send those out and hopefully we'll get a response from the highway department on that.
I'm a little confused. I have down that we're going to the peach orchard
On Tuesday.
on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that's because we talked about this when you walked away to get your calendar.
Oh, could we just go through and list all of our site visits so I can write them down?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Please.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, and so June 4th, the Historic Commission is going to Southbrook and the commission is invited to join. On June 1st at 10 a.m., there's a building permit site visit to 92 January Hill Road. Also on that day at 4:30 is the mapping at Southbrook meeting on Locks Pond Road,
Okay.
Railhead. And then we just discussed doing Peach Orchard on Wednesday, June 9th at meeting at 9 a.m. I will propose that to Penny and see if that works with her schedule. And Cliff Reed, who's the president of the Homeowner Association. And then I will propose 2 dates to the Highway Department, June 9th, later on in the morning, maybe 11 after the Peach Orchard, or Thursday the 10th. It's a lot.
Okay, thank you.
I can put it in, it'll be in the minutes, but I will put it in an email before that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you. All right. So we did get through all the site visit scheduling. So I'm wondering if now's a good time to do the determination of applicability since it's still fresh in our minds.
Sure.
Wait 1 minute. I did draft the paperwork. So let me open it up. been a little bit since I've done this. All right. So here's just the general plan information, description. And we scroll down. The crest is in the buffer zone. That makes it a -3. And we can add conditions. And then here are your signatures. So I can, if that all looks good, I assume that we do want conditions.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Even though it's only a sliver of the buffer zone, it's always worthwhile.
Wait, is that spelled?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Conditions. Okay, sorry. All right.
All those letters are really close together.
You're giving me a break. All right. All right, let me then pull up a document that I started. Oops, it still says, that's funny, I didn't change the top yet. Oops. So this is coming from a previous already determination that I copied. This is the one that I really wanted feedback on and whether the commission thought it was necessary or not. It is not my call to make.
So are they planning to cut trees in the buffer zone, or is it more trees outside?
Alan estimated it as less than 12. Well, at the site during the site
And
visit.
they're mature trees.
They could be. I mean, yeah.
Maybe teen trees.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a super old forest, but it wasn't just saplings.
Mhm.
It wasn't just, the area wasn't just saplings. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm not sure because I wasn't there. Do we think that the removal of the trees is going to affect the health of the stream significantly?
not like
I
I
wasn't there.
don't.
not likely.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, then I don't know if it's
Far
necessary.
enough away.
Personally.
Were they going to be stumping?
Yes, I did ask Alan if the stumps would remain in place, and we could put that as a condition
Yeah.
to make sure that that was in writing.
I
He
think
did
that
say
would be
yes,
appropriate.
but we
That
could put
sounds
that in
good.
writing.
I would put that in.
Okay, so if we want to just take this out and say any trees that are cut down in the buffer zone, keep the stumps in place or something.
Right.
A little more eloquent than that.
I guess they can be ground down to ground level, but the subsurface stumps remain in place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. If it's not going to affect the health of the stream, I don't really want to make them do something.
Okay, there's a better way to write this. Let me
Okay,
know.
well, for any trees taken down in the buffer zone or removed in the buffer zone. Yeah, I mean, you could say, I guess, for any trees removed in the buffer zone, stumps, below ground or below subterranean stumps will remain in place. But that's fine. I think it's fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it gets fine.
And,
Doesn't we're not writing poetry.
Yeah, I often
uh,
get confused about what we're writing when we're doing these. And
Really.
they sound pretty.
Just, you know.
It's like gets the point
Just get
across.
as long as it's clear, yeah, I guess that's, so I wasn't sure if what type of site visit, if any, the commission would like to see.
Yeah, I think we should do a post-construction site. I wonder, do we want to see whether it's vegetated? Whether the, you know, septic, you know, the leach field area has been vegetated?
So it will occur prior to the removal of but after,
Yeah.
after the
Septic area. Yeah, I think that sounds right.
like that. Alright.
Yeah. For number 4, because it's flat, do we want to, you know, you're saying, no, I'm sorry, I'm looking down at number 5. Sorry,
5.
getting ahead of myself.
It might not be necessary. We could just get rid of it.
Well, about the unconsolidated material, I'm just wondering if it's flat, if the area is flat, even if it's outside the buffer zone, do we still want them to have it tarped? I mean, it's a good practice to keep, you know, piles of fill tarped, or, you know, piles of soil.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good for them to maintain their material piles, but do we need to be concerned about it? I'm not sure.
But if it, I guess my point was that if the slope, if it's fairly flat and somewhat up gradient from wetland, I guess they'll still have their erosion controls in place.
Mhm.
Just seem like the tarping is just a good practice.
Yeah, I think it's fine to keep that one in there.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to be too put out about it either.
No.
Okay, yeah, this looks good to me.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, here's a question about 4. It looks like you're saying that excavated debris will be disposed of on site, as opposed to either on site or removed from the site. I mean, they could
Oh, do we want to say offsite?
they could remove it off site or 100 feet from the wetland, the mapped wetland, if it's on site. I mean, this is forcing them. Yeah, I think this is better. Yeah, that's much better.
Sounds good to me. All right, I'm happy.
All right.
With it.
Hmm.
Okay. So do we want to vote to issue it, I guess?
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we issue the determination of applicability for lot ZH34 Montague Road.
I'll second it.
All right, roll call vote. David,
Aye.
DeFont,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
and Cregan, aye. All right then. So on to new items and updates. First one is commission vacancy.
Yeah, so I did have someone reach out to me about interest in being on the commission, and I gave her the link on the agenda for tonight, and she hasn't shown up.
Who
So
was that?
her name, I'm not going to pronounce it right. It was Seti Cherniak Horton.
I don't know who that is.
CETTI. So I guess I can invite her to the next meeting and we can just see.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anyone else who writes to me, I will invite.
Sounds good.
for other business, a couple items that I wanted us to add was a follow-up letter to the planning board, and then the follow-up discussion about ATVs in Southbrook. We had talked about maybe meeting with the police.
Okay, yeah, I have the letter to the planning board on here, but I'll put ATVs on there.
Yeah.
Just so I remember. Okay. Lake Wyola dock permitting.
Mary, do you want to start with what you saw?
So I'll start with, and just to tell, for those that don't know, the house happens to be across the street from me, where a neighbor suddenly just delivered everything and installed the dock on the lake, as well as down the street. There's also another dock been installed. So I had questions that I had been trying to get answered as to, don't we need permits? You know, what is it, since he just, I mean, it went up like overnight, you know, what's our steps for process now? They, you know, there really wasn't a process for a way to halt them from doing it. Since they say they were doing it, they were just rebuilding a dock that had previously been there, which I can find no record of. So, I mean, Tess and I have looked at some of the regulations, and you can correct me if I'm saying the right one. This is a Great Lake, and it is supposed to be permitted not just by us, but by the state. And I read over I did look at some of the regulations, which don't, all of their regulations say all this is supposed to be done before the dock is installed. And it's a little bit of a process and an application.
Yeah, that's the
Which
Chapter 91 license you're talking about, Mary.
Yes. That's right. Which raises the question, which I didn't find in the thing for me, as to, so that alone is 2 docks, 2 new boats. You know, it would appear that many of the docks that are here don't have or never been permitted. You know, and is there a limit to the number of boats and docks on the lake? As all of those do impact the lake. As a person here, that it tears up the vegetation, you find dead fish there. And what does that mean? I don't see that addressed in the regulations, but clearly they didn't put in a request to either to us as a conservation committee or to the state. And it's kind of, you know, what's our process? That is a history here. A lot of people have done that. What do we do now? What are the steps we take now?
Well, it seems to me, I mean, I think that this is also part of this larger discussion with the Lake Association president. But there should be an enforcement. I mean, we at some point we have to start a consistent way of treating these things, I think.
There is, and part of the problem is, and I'll say it here at the meeting, that, you know, the dock number, the one dock is actually the lake's president's house, and the second dock is actually her relative's house. So there's not consistency. I also sent a thing to the Lake Wyola, what's the other commission? I forgot the name of it.
Advisory committee.
Advisory committee too, who, you know, basically said they should get a permit. It shouldn't be a problem for them doing it, but it wasn't their concern. So nobody seems to really think it's their concern.
Could we write a letter to those 2 homeowners and tell them that we believe there needs to be permitting? They can't get it permitted after the fact, right?
I don't know. All of it does say that it's supposed to be done ahead of time. I don't know what they do if they don't do it ahead of time, but personally, I do think even if it's after time, they should have to go and get permitted. It doesn't sound like it's anything that wouldn't allow them to have the permit, but I do think, you know, I'm a rule follower, so I do think people should follow the process. And there's multiple people on the street here that have asked me about it now that they know I'm on conservation committee, is why does this keep happening and nothing gets done about it? What's the process? And
well, doesn't this fall under enforcement?
It could.
So,
I
yeah.
think that's a conversation. Sorry, Tessa.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so it seems like what has previously been done is that a start before an enforcement order is issued is to start with a letter and see if the violator is willing to do the correct permitting, if they are amenable to that. And for one of the docks, because at 67 Shore Drive, I did learn from Linda that the owner lives in California, and because this is pressing, she recommended we actually do a letter through email and see how they respond. So that is an option, to start with an email letter.
That makes sense.
And then,
So the owner is living at the house right now,
okay,
just as a point, but yes, they originally were living in California.
oh, okay.
But since most of this COVID,
Yeah, I mean,
they have been here occupying the house.
Oh, okay.
But I do think, I do think at the very least that it should be a letter saying, and what is the proper procedure, that they should be notifying us and applying, whatever it is they should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Right, especially if it's the president who might be advising other people in the association.
Point.
Yeah, I do, and I guess that we have to be certain what the process is before we go, what is the process they should be doing? Because I'm sure that what they're going to come back is like, which is the other thing, and I don't know, Tessa, you read those regulations. If you already have a dock and you're just rebuilding it, do you still need to apply for the license? Which, since they didn't have a license to start with, I would still say yes, but that's the excuse they were using, is they're just rebuilding what was already there. But what was already there, that to me, I don't think there ever was a dock there, but even if there was, it wasn't licensed.
So
I think-
in regards to the Chapter 91 license, they can expire, and there isn't one currently, and you are supposed to have an active one. I'm not sure, I haven't done enough research to know how long they last once you have one, but I did find out, Mary already knows this, but I did find out from DP that it's the Chapter 91 license is a recorded license, so I am able to go on Mass Land Records and see if a property has the license there, and I checked, and it does not.
So my thought is, if they're building a new dock, absolutely. If they have an active license, maybe they should come to us before assuming they don't need to get a permit, because if they're substantially changing the dock, like if they had a little dinky thing and they're building something much more substantial, then I think that they should get another permit for that.
yeah, I would agree.
If it's repairing an existing dock, that's different than building a new one.
Yeah, this is definitely a huge dock. I don't know, I did send pictures. I don't know if everybody got the pictures, but
Yeah, I saw the pictures. It's a pretty big dock. It's bigger than I pictured it being.
yeah.
Did I see, when were the pictures sent?
I wonder, you might have just sent them to me, Mary.
Oh, okay.
So I could forward them to everybody now.
Yeah, and the second
So I
dock,
guess
I
with
didn't
that
take,
particular landowner, we're gonna email them. Is that okay with everybody?
Well, Mary's saying she's local, they're local.
I mean, you can,
Yeah.
it doesn't, email or letter, I think holds the same weight.
I think so too, and I something tells me they might be more likely to respond to an email. Not sure though. Maybe that's just me, who would be more likely to respond.
Maybe. Getting something in writing from a regulatory body can be sobering.
Mhm, that's
And I
true.
think a letter should go to both parties for the new
Yes.
dock, so whatever the same letter is.
Right. I wonder if we need to, when we talk to the president, what's his name?
Donna West,
Donna West?
yeah, she's coming next meeting, you said,
When we
right?
talk to her, I'm sorry, said him.
Yeah, bring
We
this up.
should find some way to communicate across the community what our expectations are going forward. I mean, we need to think about that. with her.
Yeah,
But
it'd be great if there's a way that she could communicate it to the community.
maybe we could write up a list of things that are kind of our worst offender list of wishes.
So
You know.
I've started a guideline one-page document that outlines what permits are required for different project types.
Good.
Liam's given it his sign off. I've sent it to DEP to look at just because it involves the Chapter 91 license too, and I just want to make sure I'm using it correctly. So so I sent it to DEP, and if he takes a look and gives it the okay, then I'll bring it back to the commission to look
That's
at.
great.
Yeah, it'd be awesome if we could, we'll see how long Mark takes to get back to us, but if we have it for that next meeting, we could share it with Donna, and then hopefully she can share it with the community. But we'll see how that conversation goes. And so I guess the next steps for these two particular landowners, do we want to send physical mail letters since they're both around?
I would say so.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that. We don't need a vote on that, do we? No.
I don't think so. Yeah, I just, and the procedure I think in the previously is that Liam as chair just reviews the language I draft, if that's okay with the commission.
I'm fine with that.
I think it's great that you're putting together a handout, Tessa.
Yeah, I think because it makes it look not so intimidating. I think a lot of people are just really intimidated and like that think we're going to say no. But
Also,
it's more
if
just
we
to have a paper trail usually.
rather than being reactive when we find a problem, it would be better to be proactive and put the information out there.
Exactly.
So it doesn't look like we're picking on people.
Yes.
So Mary, a lot of people might not. You might not be getting invited to anybody's backyard
Right.
barbecues.
Yeah,
Yes, I've already been told, so I'm thinking I'll have
Oh
a
my
place
God.
to hide. I'll have a place to hide out if I need to, which is part of just being open. And
Mhm.
part of the issues on the lake why people don't cooperate, and there's been so much trouble over the time is there's a group that feels they can do everything and not have to ask, and then there's a group that thinks everybody should have to follow the same rules. So there's a lot of people right now, and the retaliation if you speak up has been here, whether people say it or not. There has been over the years, and so people get afraid to speak up, especially when it appears that the president of the association is supporting whatever's getting done. So it will be nice to have some rules so everybody has them up front, and here's what you need to do, and here's what you're accountable for.
Things are real down there on the lake. People say little Shutesbury's like not in the real world, but whoa.
Yes.
All right, so I think we can probably move on to the next item, which is the end of the mass state of emergency on June 15th.
Yeah, so it's a little more complicated than I thought just initially. So MACC was the first announcement I got on this. You guys might have heard about it through the news, but Baker is lifting the state of emergency, scheduled to lift it on June 15th. The changeover to in-person is complicated by the fact that there is legislature out there to continue to allow remote access to meetings and to have that still count as open meeting law, abide by open meeting law. And the news I got from Becky today was that he's actually letting a transition time happen until September. So it won't, so it's not like June 15th, the town hall's open, bam, we're going. It seems like it's going to be a little more transition. And the other update is that the select board is going to discuss this on their June 8th meeting. So we'll have more information about how Shutesbury specifically is going to handle this after the June 8th select board meeting. But it just will be different since I have not done an in-person meeting for Shutesbury. So
I was gonna say, I've not done an in-person meeting either. I like the Zoom, but mostly because and maybe somebody who has it seems to me that more people who want to jump on and be part of the conversation, that it's easier for them to do in a Zoom than to get in a car and drive all the way to town hall. Now, that may be totally, it's just my perspective that it does seem like this gives more people the opportunity to make comments or get on it and say things, but
I guess the other update is it wouldn't help with necessarily in-person responses, but, or like in time responses, but Grace's town clerk is interested in keeping the recording aspect of meetings, and how that is gonna work out is also still in process, but I know that would like to have meetings still continue to be recorded, even if they're not live.
The other issue is, you know, the Concom room is really small and you can't social distance. And I personally feel like the town should not go back to in-person meetings unless they can provide space where people can have some
Right.
distance, right?
Well, at the beginning of the pandemic, before things were really shutting down and whatever, we had our meetings in the basement
Yeah,
where we would, push several
space
tables
out.
together and we would sit, like 4 or 5 chairs apart from
Right.
each other. And the any people that came to attend the meeting, we had, pairs of chairs because sometimes they'd come with another person,
Mhm.
set up, we would use an entire room
Sure.
for just a few people.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that's ideal, but I would like that as kind of a transition before
Sure.
we went from outside, Zoom or out in the field, out back to crammed into the Concom room. Because you're
Yeah.
right, that's a pretty small space.
And it's very, being the secretary for the historical commission, I'm really aware that how hard it is scheduling space, meeting times when it was in town hall. It gets very cramped in terms of scheduling. You can't always have the downstairs room because there are a lot of boards and everybody can't meet in that
Well,
room
we
at the
just
same
had,
time.
it was the same time as our normal meeting and nobody else was meeting at that time.
Mhm. Well, that was good. That you
Anyway, I
didn't
just
get
wanted
pushed
to
out.
throw that out there that I would like that. That's a possible transition to going back inside,
Yep.
but
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I personally hope that a hybrid model continues to be an option even after September. When we make the full transition for a number of reasons. Some people aren't going to be feeling safe going to an indoor meeting. Some people might just be more likely to come if they have the Zoom option. I think
Yeah.
for both of those reasons, it would be awesome if the hybrid model continued to exist, but we kind of need to just see what happens with the legislature. And
I guess
Shutesbury
another
decides.
option, now that you just said that, is, I don't know if town hall is set up so that, we could meet in person, but still have a Zoom for any other people that want to jump in on the meeting.
I think we
would be
could
nice.
definitely have that as an option. It would just be a matter of it being legal.
Okay.
So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens, but this could potentially affect our late June meeting. Which the select board meeting will happen the Tuesday before our meeting, right?
The 8th, what Becky told me is they're gonna talk about it on the 8th. I don't
Yeah,
know
so
if they'll be able to have everything figured out, but they're at least gonna be discussing it.
So yeah, maybe we'll have just more of a sense of how the select board is going to deal with it by the next meeting, and then we'll kind of see.
Yeah. But yeah, and hopefully the public will be understanding that it'll be another transition period.
Mhm.
Figure it out.
Yep. All right, so committee communications.
This is what I put on as what I meant for you, Mary. Sorry,
Okay, that's
exactly
fine.
how you would have put it.
Committee coordination. So this is me being in trouble again. No. So I don't know if I've told everybody that I wanted to get on the Board of Health. So I got on the ballot to be voted on for the Board of Health.
Yay.
So everybody vote. But with that, and also being new, they've invited me to sit in on their meetings. So I've been sitting in on the Board of Health meetings. I've been sitting in on a lot of the select board meetings just to get an idea of things. With us in the Board of Health in particular, like today when we were talking about that property that we were just talking about is actually, I believe, on the Board of Health agenda for next week. So I don't think they've approved it already because it's on the agenda, but I've gone to several meetings like that. We have looked at properties and then gone to the Board of Health where they're like discussing this, having no idea that we went and said, yes, okay, or here's the things. It doesn't appear that they had any knowledge that we went. And it's like, well, we just went to look at that. But I am a guest, so it's a little hard, but it doesn't look like they look at some of these things with the same interest that we did. You know, like they did look at the property we went out and measured where she wanted to put the well, and it was in the buffer zone, and we did several communications. I mean, their interpretation was, you know, she wanted to do this because the stream was blocked and her well was going to run out, so that's a good reason to do it. But none of those other considerations were discussed at their meeting. And I'm not sure if it just so happened, I think we went to all of these before the Board of Health, but is there a process that says when you do this, you have to go to both groups, but do you do one group before the other group? You know, or how does the other committee find out what we've done?
Right. It
You know,
happens simultaneously. I think it gets released to both boards. The building permit program, the inspection program releases it to both committees at the same time, don't they? Tessa, do you know?
Yeah, I would think that the building permit notice probably goes out at the same time, but if someone approaches me to look at to ask what the wetland permitting is required, then that might happen first, pending.
Well, Mary, can you think of a situation where one would inform the other, where, you know, it would be helpful for them to know what we found?
yes, I think it would be helpful for what our recommendations are, because they'll, you know, the house that we looked at that was the deck where it was really close to the well. They weren't about the deck as much as they were discussing, well, what's the well and how close is it to the well? So, I mean, they have a totally different perspective. And then other ones, they just say, oh yeah, we'll approve that and move on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just see that it's disconnected. Now that the sun's going down, I'm going into the dark. I guess, you know, I don't know if there's a way that when we send back our info that they should know that if they're going to be the second or the first, that whichever's info the committee should have before they do the site visit. And I don't think they do site visits. I think they just approve based on what they have in front of them, which doesn't sound like it's always the same thing that we've looked at.
No.
Probably is, but you know, that you don't hear all that information looking at it.
I think historically the Conservation Commission has always had more intensive review of building permit applications than the Board of Health.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's, I mean, what are they reviewing? What is under their jurisdiction? Whether the septic system is far enough away from the well and if it's up to code?
Well,
Oh, I guess I misunderstood. When we were out there and we were doing where the woman wanted to put in the well and doing the measuring, and we came up with 2 potential other spots, and she said, well, I'll talk to the Board of Health and see if these are okay. Like, they didn't go out to see, they just
their conversation was, oh, it looks like she needs to do this, okay, approve it. But
well, I did check.
I don't know if they actually had the 2 other sites.
I was under the impression they were going to go out there. I guess I'm ignorant of this.
So
I did check with the landowner, and she did pick a site that was one of the ones staked out by the commission. So it's outside of the 100 feet.
So is that what she presented to the board?
I think from what she told me, she was having so the Board of Health has an agent also, that the Board of Health agent went out to view those 2 spots and okayed at least one of them, maybe that to move, that would be accessible, would be safe for the
Oh, okay.
well equipment to go
Okay.
out. So
Okay, so they did go out. All right, thank you.
yeah, so
Yeah, that was, and that wasn't clear at the meeting. And again, I'm an observer right now. So but it doesn't appear like that the information we have is the same information that gets communicated to them.
Mhm.
So my question is, should there be a process as to how we do that? You know, should the stuff come to us first and then go to them, or should our recommendation go to them with their permit that they have? I'm not. So it's a question about what should the process be?
Or could their agent coordinate with Tessa one way or the other, just like having some communication?
Hmm. What do you think, Tessa?
I love the way her eyes just open when you said that.
No more coordination.
I would definitely, I mean, I could reach out and just ask like what if it would make sense for me to send the sign off permits or site visit forms, if they would be interested in receiving those when the
Mhm.
commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my sense is it's on the landowner to adhere to the regulations, both from the Board of Health and from the Concom. So the Board of Health is going to tell them one thing, the Concom is going to tell them another thing, looking at completely different sets of laws, and then they need to make it work. So as long as there's a check that is making sure that, so in like the case where the proposed well site was in the buffer zone, and then you guys proposed another couple sites, somebody recognized that from the Board of Health and then went out and picked one of the other sites. I think there's really not much of a reason for coordination. But if there is a gap, then maybe there is. But to me, it seems like there isn't a gap, and that the landowner at the end of the day is being held responsible to making the pieces fit.
But I can reach out to the Board of Health and see what kind of connection would be helpful on their end, if any.
Okay, cool. And if you're on the Board of Health, Mary, that makes things a lot easier.
If I get voted in.
If you get
So,
right.
this
It's a ballot position to get voted on, so.
this feels like a good segue to the planning board and the Wheeler Tract. I was at the planning board meeting where this was discussed. Mary, were you there?
Yeah, I think I was there too.
You were there. So they had the developer. Well, this project has been sold twice. So the company that owns it now is based in Florida. And personally, I got the impression they don't have a clue what's going on the property. The guy who was on the Zoom call, the project manager, I don't even know if he's ever been here. And so they are going to be preparing a annual report for the planning board. They didn't realize they needed to produce an annual report, even though it was in the special permit. It wasn't clear to me that they had read the special permit, which is kind of disturbing because there's all sorts of requirements in the special permit of things that they're supposed to maintain on an ongoing basis. My question about this, and I guess we can look at the letter you were going to send, Liam, but you know, I think that it would be helpful for us to coordinate with the planning board around this and perhaps arrange a site visit.
Yeah, I think it would be a great opportunity, you know, to meet with whoever is representing that company from Florida. If someone can come up, and then we can. I've never met really anyone on the planning board in person to just to meet them and kind of get on the same page about, you know, how we could team up to get this annual report coming.
I mean, they said the guy on the call from Florida said that he was confident that the area under the raise was 90% vegetated. Jeff Lacey, who's on the planning board and who's been up there, said that I think the wording was, you could not characterize this as a success story.
I wouldn't say so either.
Or something like it just looks like the forest is regrowing into the space.
Yeah,
he was referring to the meadow. He said the meadow
was not a success
habitat
story.
was not a success.
It was not a success story, but but also that perhaps it's not quite, I think in another meeting, he said he didn't think it was 90% vegetated either. So,
Yeah, I think there's a fair amount of bare soil on
Yeah.
the site.
right. And they're supposed to be developing a report once a year where they characterize how much vegetation there is and then what they're doing to improve it. Which it sounds like they're not doing anything to improve it, which, is what it is.
Well, I
Yeah,
think this is I think this is another good issue of, as we go forward, making sure plans are in place. So if we ever get solar, I'll just use that as an example, that whatever plans they put in place to maintain whatever people have agreed upon, there needs to be some kind of feedback loop to
There
make
has
sure.
to be, there has
make
to
sure
be
things
accountability.
happen.
Right. I
Yeah.
agree. Well, I think that it's important for us to be communicating to the planning board that we recognize that all of this is relevant for our jurisdiction as well. And that, we would like to participate in a site visit with them.
sure. Yeah. So do you think right now that that should be our next step, is coordinating with the planning board to
Yeah.
site visit?
Yeah,
I think we should say, I think that we should, there's two ways to do this. One is to say, if you're going to meet with the developer, invite us to come to that open meeting, and we can post and be an open meeting as well. You can have a dual board meeting that people do it all the time.
Oh, you're talking about a meeting. Okay, because site
Right.
visits don't have to be posted.
No, I'm talking about if they're going to have another meeting with the developer to go over the annual report. I'll be there. I know I'm going to attend. Mary, you've been attending, but I think it might be good for us as a board to attend. But I think the other
They
thing
did
is
invite him for the June, I believe it's June 14th. I'd have to.
June 14th.
Um,
So then the other question is, asking the planning board to include us in a site visit plan.
Because I think they said they were gonna do a site visit because many people hadn't actually been up there to see what it looks like.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm newly untrespassed, so I can go.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely interested in the site. That's amazing that you're on trespass. I'm really glad.
Thank you. See, I'm not such a bad person.
So we can hang out with you?
Yeah. I'm not a criminal or a criminal wannabe.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'm not so sure if I feel like I have the capacity to do a dual meeting with the planning board, but I'm interested in the site visit.
Okay. Well, how about sending a letter to the planning board then saying that we're interested in a site visit?
Yeah, I can do that.
And maybe asking them to, well, of course, Tessa has it, but maybe formally say we would like to have the report distributed to the commissioners.
I do think, we should get an invite if they have the meeting.
Yeah.
And whoever can attend, could bring that information back.
Yeah.
I'm happy to let the commission know if
Yeah.
it appears on the agenda. I see the agenda because Deacon
You
shares it
are,
with me.
right. You're the one, right?
So.
It's very helpful.
Okay, yeah. Well, I will send an email to the chair of the planning board, just saying that we'd like the report when they get it and to attend a site visit.
Yeah. That
Sounds
sounds
good.
great. Well, and some of us will, sounds like Mary, you're also interested in going to the meeting. We obviously can't speak for the Conservation Commission, but we can ask questions. And
It's good information is what I found, to be able to know some of what's gone on.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not doing any environmental monitoring on this site. And environmental monitoring is a thing. My daughter is a geotechnical engineer, and she works for an environmental consulting company, and she goes out at solar sites and does environmental monitoring at times and inspections of stormwater systems and stuff like that. People do these things, but it isn't seeming to be happening with this project.
Mhm.
And I think not having been there or been part of any of this, there did seem to be concerns raised about runoff.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this has been an ongoing issue on Pratt Corner Road. The access road has drainage ditches that discharge into a roadside ditch that connects to a wetland, a culvert. And then the water goes into a wetland. And there have been a number of storm events in recent years where there was significant erosion from water just sheet flow down their access road.
Mhm.
There were situations, at one point I reported it to the planning board. I took photographs because I live just past it. And, they had put up a few straw bales, but the erosion had worked around the straw bales, and there were like deep grooves in the road. I mean, I know that they've had to do rebuilding the road several times over the last few years because of erosion.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can coordinate with them and get some plantings up there eventually at the end of the day. That's really what we want to make happen.
Yeah.
Liam, just for your information, if you email planning board planning board at Shutesbury.org, it goes to the whole board. And
Oh,
if you
okay.
want Deacon's specific email, I can get that to you. If you want
I
to
think
just
I'll
write
do planning board at shutesbury.org.
Okay.
It's planning at shutesbury.org, isn't it?
Or planning. I
Planning.
Just planning at shutesbury.org.
That would line up with concom at shutesbury.org.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, it gets
Okay.
forwarded to everybody.
Will do. Okay. Want to talk about ATV use at Southbrook and then wrap up?
Yeah.
All right. So ATVs do use the property, at least certain trails on it, from what Tessa and I could see. I'm not sure if there is anything in the deed or that says
There's
it's
not. I checked because they're the landowner, that abutter whose trail we walked on,
Mhm.
trail crosses into private property. And it just so happened I think it was the day after Liam and I had been out there, that landowner reached out with concerns about motorized vehicle use on that trail. And so I checked. So I wrote to Penny and Linda asking what they knew, and I checked the folder myself, and there's no restrictions on use, which is partly what the CPA, what the expert, I don't know what the career path of the person she's hiring, but her CPA project is supposed to look at use. What is it?
Pennies is.
Yeah.
Mhm. And to assess whether or not it's sustainable.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Did that include ATVs or just mountain bikes?
Well, I don't think she was looking specifically at mountain bikes.
Yeah, well, I think the idea is to look at the trail system as it exists now and to say, okay, well, it seems like it's being used in such and such way. Either that use is sustainable or that use is going to cause erosion and degradation. And then to offer recommendations to the open space. Is it paying on that? It's the open space committee, right?
Well, who, that was the question I had is, yeah, Penny is the open space committee, but if there were going to be restrictions put on it, does that have to happen at town meeting by bylaw? I mean, how does that work, Tessa? Do you know?
I don't know. This is new territory, but I just know that it's interesting because when I was AmeriCorps with Hilltown Land Trust, it was just standard to include that language as part of a conservation restriction, but that when this property was conserved, that was not part of it.
It wasn't a thing.
Is there a CR on Southbrook?
It's not a CR, yeah. It's just an agreement that talks about no dogs or horses on the beach, and things like that. But it does not mention restricting.
Can that be revised, that agreement?
That would be, yeah, it wasn't, when I asked Linda and Penny how this could be addressed, they felt, I think that policies would have to be kind of, that it would be more appropriate after her CPA project
Yeah.
was complete to have information, and then there could be a bigger discussion about
How?
properties in general and where
Right. Sorry. Losing my
policies
laptop.
over ATV use
Right.
on town land.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, from our walk, the only place that I was concerned about was that wet area that we decided should probably be closed anyway. There's I don't know, it's hard to describe where it is, but there's an area that's closer to Wendell Road. That was clearly wet, probably way too wet for a trail. And that there was evidence of ATVs because it was so wet. But when it left that wet area, there wasn't really any degradation from what I saw. So that's a good sign and a bad sign, because it basically means that the trail stays dry. It probably won't be a big deal. But I mean, we can see what Penny's person says.
Mm-hmm. But it just, if it's supposed to be if the intention of the property when it was purchased was to make it a conservation area, having large ATVs using it just seems contrary to the intent.
Yeah. And I think I would agree overall, but I mean, we could also find a way to talk to people who hike there a lot and see what they think too.
Because even if it's not, it's not degrading the trail, it's affecting wildlife.
Yeah. Oh, the noise. Yeah.
Totally.
If they're doing it in the spring when animals, birds are nesting, and yeah, it's not great.
No. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is another thing that I think we should probably just wait and see what Penny's study yields.
But I can ask more questions and get a clear picture of what the process would be to set ATV policy.
Well, I think when we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, the issue was that ATVs need to be permitted, and there may be people with unpermitted ATVs using that property. Wasn't that the concern that we talked about?
I can't
That's
remember.
that's what Janice said, that they have to have a special license or they have to be permitted, and that there were was her impression, there were a lot of people taking ATVs out there illegally. That was why we were talking to the police.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know anything about ATV permits. So, but yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to find out if there's a way to do it without putting a CR on the property, because that would probably be too complicated. I mean, we'd have to find somebody else to hold the CR for us. So that would be pretty complicated.
Yeah, so we'd need, maybe there's just something that Tessa, we can explore, is like, what are the avenues, if the recommendation is that we limit motor vehicle use on the property, what are the mechanisms for doing that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good to me.
It may be as simple as the town saying a policy, they're not allowed on here, and putting a sign up.
Right. And I did learn, not that it's helpful at this point, but I did learn which fund I can use for signage.
Oh, great.
So
we'll wait to see what we can put on the sign.
When and if we can put one up, I know where the money goes.
Good.
Which of the various Concom related funds it would come out of.
All right. Well, any other items, comments before we wrap up?
Very quickly, when I ran off to get my calendar and I came back, you were immersed in something else, so I hadn't brought this up yet. But we decided we were going to do a site visit on June 1st, the January Hills.
Yeah.
At 10.
Yeah.
I have something at 10:30 that I would have to leave at 10 to go to. I can try to push that back, or is there any way we could do that other visit?
Do you want to do it earlier?
9:30.
That's fine. I'm just throwing that out there. I can do it at 9 if you want.
I'm fine with any time, so whichever's.
9. 9:30 is fine because, I
9:30?
mean, where I'm supposed to be is in Leverett, so I don't have to
Okay.
go far, and I can't imagine this taking more than a half an hour.
Okay,
It
that sounds
shouldn't
fine.
be that bad. Luckily, like I said, decks are mostly they're exempt in the buffer zone. It would be only if they're trying to build directly in a wetland area that it would not be a sign off.
Yeah,
So we can move it to 9:30?
yeah,
That's okay?
yes.
Okay,
Thanks, you guys. Or else, you know, I could just cancel or try to change my other thing or.
Yeah. One last quick thing I forgot to throw in before we adjourn. I noticed, and I didn't have one, and now I do have one, but I really liked Don's nifty surveying tape measure. So I went and purchased one for myself. I don't know if other people have them.
Well, I have a 200-foot one,
200
and that's what I use with Mary
on a
when we get
reel,
her
the
retreat.
real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have one too. Good. So I'm just so you
Yeah, I
know,
don't
when I
have
go
one.
on, it's in my car, and when I go on visits, we might want to also make sure we bring a couple shovels around in case we want to take a look at the soil.
Yeah, we should buy
Oh,
an
that
auger.
never occurred to me.
I mean, some people might even, I mean, you could have an auger where, you know, you really could look
Yeah.
at the soil profile, but
We can buy an auger.
right.
The funds, I think.
It's
from
just then we have to pick it up.
Right. So yeah, shovels could work too. All right. I'm gonna make a motion that we close the meeting at 8:52 p.m.
I'll second.
All right, roll call vote. David,
aye.
Lafont,
I
Harrington,
I
and Cregan, aye.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Good
All right,
night.
see
Good
you all.
night.
And I know the meeting's over, but I have an auger that's about this tall to like get, you know, for sampling the top soil layers. As a
Yeah.
plant scientist, that was important.
Yeah.
And so I can throw that in my car. It just lives in my shed at this point.
Well, that's a cool idea then.
Sweet.
Good.
All right.
All
Good
right.
night, everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good
Aye.
night.